6:31 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. It's myself, Nick Allen, Bernie Flynn, Brian McGinnis. Item number 2 is comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Yes, Mr. Lurgas, going up.
No. No. Yes. And Mr. Metric, he'll expand a little bit more on it. The 25 basis points that we set aside from the EIT was dedicated to be used at that particular time to increase the level to get fully funded. And but it could not be codified into into an ordinance that it always had to go to that fund, because you can't, you wrote the home rule charter, so you should know. Yeah, one council cannot handcuff another council going forward. So as the pensions got fully funded at that particular time, the existing council at that time would have an option either to use the 25 basis points for other pension items, or rescind it. And we're not even close to where we need to be as far as fully funded pensions for the police. Mr. Metric, you want to expound any more? What would that?
I think I would, we're going to have a discussion item here, 3B, where we're going to talk about some funding ratios and answer some of these questions. We'll definitely get to it tonight.
I don't know that. I don't know that. The person behind you just shook her head. Ms. Leonti said yes.
Any other comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda? Okay. Item number 3A is our October 2022 financials.
Can I pause you just for a second, Barb, if you don't mind? Yeah, this is an issue that I wanted to just highlight in the context of discussing finances, because since the borough is the manager and focal point of fire services, regional fire services that we provide through contract to our partner municipalities that participate in that contract, we administer, we handle all of the bill payments. We've actually fixed some of the equipment ourselves. We have a lot of hands-on management of the regional fire department. One of the problems that we run into, I've said this in budget conversations, the two things that we can't predict very well, right? Legal fees and repairs. So when you have an overage in repairs on this fire fund, like we're experiencing now, we are $33,000 over budget on repairs, where we had $71,000 budgeted. We've spent 105. You can't not fix fire equipment. Okay, you got to keep the apparatus running. You got to keep the departments operational. The borough eats this difference right now in the way that the contract is written. So that's something we're going to take back to our partners next year as we renegotiate, so we can have some agreement as to when we run into overages with repairs and these kinds of expenses, that we can have a conversation about that. So
The administrative aspect of running the program, are we compensated for a reduction in our participation?
no.
We're going to talk about that, aren't we, at the
Yes.
negotiation? Yeah, thank you. Excuse me, Barb. I can tell you that the month of month of September, Aqua did not process the sewer bills or the water bills, because now I have a credit balance on my accounts at home. Because I just paid it twice. So, if they say something to you, just know that they sent out the same bills twice and they didn't process them. Yeah, it was pretty nice. They only paid $1.25 for water instead of, like $125.
No, I don't have any questions tonight.
One question I do have is, we've been talking about with our auditors to write off the 2015, 2016 wastewater, $3 million that we've been carrying on the books. I think it's $3 million. We've been carrying on the books for 4 or 5 years now. We were advised to write that off. Do we plan on writing it off in 2022? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any public questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much. Seeing none, we are good to move on to our second discussion item, which is item 3B, to discuss the pension funding ratios between non-uniform and uniform.
And so what that means, and that's been improving with time. So the measures that council has took to pay down the pension liability have yielded some, looking for the number, sorry, give me a second.
Hey, Barb, Mr. Metrick's trying to find that number. The OPEB. I got to refresh my memory. I believe we started, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania said we had to do that for the extended benefits for the police when they retired. And I believe when we first started, it was about $4 million that they said that we had to all of a sudden come up with to start another gift from the Commonwealth. But how do we stand with the OPEB? How much money do we have in there for reserves for it or whatever? But as we build it in, 'cause more people are going to be retiring pretty soon, I think. Are we, right. Are we, the 25 basis points that we use from the EIT, is that eligible to be used for that? Right, right. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I found what I was looking for. My apologies, it took a while. Looking at the police pension fund, the funded ratio for that fund went through a pretty dramatic erosion of its funded ratio between the years of 2007 and 2013. It dropped from 88% to 66%. That's, 22% drop in its funded ratio. That's almost getting into grounds where you would get a letter from the Auditor General to do something about your fund because it's stressed. That ratio is an expression of how well situated the pension fund is today to pay all of its current and future obligations. So that's really the number we should be looking at in terms of how healthy is the pension. And if we can get that up over 100%, the presumption is that the contributions from current employees withheld from their paychecks and the growth in the corpus body of the fund would fund your future obligations. Your MMO would be very small or none at all. There are a few municipalities that do enjoy that condition. Since 2013, the funded ratio has recovered in the police pension fund, and today it's at this measurement point for this report, which is January 1, 2021, was at 88%. Enjoying its biggest increase between the years 2019 and 2021, where it added 11% of funded ratio growth in those between that 2-year period. And that was when, going back to 2017 at 72%, that's the influence that the Measures Council have had on this funded ratio. So that's the good news. Keep in mind 2 things Council did since this last measurement. We changed our assumptions in our pension plans, which added more long-term liability. So the next time we do our Act 205, which refers to a Pennsylvania statute that requires biannual evaluations. When we do that report, and the measurement date's going to be the end of this year, it's going to reflect activity from 2022 and 2021. We changed our assumptions, so we increased our overall long-term liabilities in both plans. We did that by lowering our rate of return assumptions and increasing our inflation assumptions. Mortality tables didn't change, and that's usually a big driver, but I think we already had good modern mortality tables in our funding formulas. That's going to have an effect. It's going to have a pretty big effect. And the second thing is, although 2021 was a really great year in equities, 2022, I don't know, Brian, did we give it all back this year?
Minus 21%.
Okay, so we're going to, with the expectation of the fund increasing over a long period of time at 6.75%, I think is the assumption, or 6.5. Sorry, I don't know the exact number. We have 2 most recent years of experience that probably not going to meet that expectation. So I'm saying that to tell you 2 things. Your minimum municipal obligations for the next 2 years are going to be determined by that valuation that's going to take place. There's going to be significant downward pressure on your funded ratio for the 2 reasons I just mentioned as well. So, and the other thing I want everyone to appreciate is, although we've made some really good gains recently, everything when we talk about pension funding should be viewed through a lens of a long time period. The objective with the MMO is to, and the MMO is calculated, is to bring the funded ratio up to 100%. So the MMO can get really steep if you get in the hole. But as you recover and you get lots of repeated good experience with the fund, and you're contributing the MMO, or even in some cases like the borough has done, over and above the MMO, that'll increase, and that MMO should come down over time and really plateau out. And you'll still be paying an MMO probably for 10, 15 years, but I'm hoping, and it's part of our long-term financial projections, that especially for the non-uniform plan, which isn't adding any new members, that we can enjoy 5, 6, 7, 8% year-over-year reduction in our MMO for that plan. The police pension plan is always going to be the bigger gorilla, because you can retire younger, and that right there is all you need to know. You can retire younger, and officers make a lot more money than non-uniform personnel, so their benefits are greater. So it's a it's a big boat. It moves slowly, but I think we're headed in the right direction. But we're gonna slow down a little bit in the next 2 years because of those 2 issues I mentioned.
So by slow down, do you mean our ratio is going to be approaching 100% at a slower rate, or are we expecting to retreat back down briefly?
Yeah, we could even retreat. I don't think it would be dramatic, but you're still probably going to be in the mid 80s, I bet, for both plans.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment. The other thing to take is consideration within the next couple of years, retirements, and then the police contract negotiations next year, in which case the pension could be, or distributions from that pension lump sum could be a part of that, which would have an adverse effect on the overall pension moving forward. So that's something we also need to be cognizant of.
Yeah, Mr. Willargus. Any other public questions, concerns, comments? Okay, I appreciate this. I always love warnings. So not a fun warning to get, but appreciated one. Item 4A is to approve an amendment to a contract with Portnoy Law Associates for a collection of delinquent real estate taxes and municipal claims. Are we required to have the specific fees spelled out in the code? Could we can't just refer to the contract in the code? Okay, good to know. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me. Any questions?
Question I have is with Portnoy. I know, when we originally did the contract with them, how efficient have they been for us? And, I mean, I'm asking you a question you're not prepared for, but the fact is, have they been a good steward to the borough? And what's our, return on investment? Right. How's our collection ratio? I mean, Barb may know that, or Sean may know it. How's, like, for example, how many people do we send a year or every quarter or whatever it is? And how efficient are they collecting the funding for us? The same people, I'm assuming that if they can't afford to pay today, they can't afford to pay tomorrow. So have we, instead of piling, I'm going to sound like Nick Allen all of a sudden, instead of piling on all the fees and can we get them a break? I know you never thought I'd say that, but I thought it was going to be like you. Like when you're down and you already lost your teeth, you don't need to lose your nose, so what do we do? The response, have we been successful with that? The people that are really, really hurting, they're hurting. I mean, have they had the ability to contact, let's say there's 5 people in the borough to do it. Have we held their hand to make sure that, because maybe they don't have the mental capacity to do it?
So that first notice that they get is basically
Yeah, my heart's very warm. Yeah. Any other other questions? Yeah, that's great. I appreciate the work on that. That sounds good. I guess we'll call that a 3-0 recommendation for next week for A and B. Any public comments? I should say it. Any public comments? All right. 4C is to approve modifying the 2022 budget for a transfer of $404,521 from the general fund to the liquid fuels fund to satisfy 2019-2020 audit findings. Great. I just wanted to say I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely a relief. And I had to call Mr. Metric today just to make sure I understood that before the meeting today. And yeah, my only question, sorry, my question about this is it sounds like we're abundantly confident that this is going to work out. Um, if for whatever reason we hit a snag with this, is this something that we would discover during the next audit or when 2022 gets audited? Amazing. Thanks again, Mr. Flynn.
This is just paper work, right? We're not actually writing a check for 4,000, sending it to the Commonwealth. Okay. And then are we allowed to use that 404 next year? If it's in our account? Or, okay. Good. All right, thank you.
So essentially what we're doing is amending our current year's liquid fuels budget to add into it these three items that we've accounted for. So we can, essentially we're laundering money back from, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Is there like a minimum amount of time it needs to be in the account or like 10 minutes? No? Okay. Good to know. Any other questions? Public questions, comments, concerns? Again, I appreciate that a lot. Item 4D is our October 2022 minutes. Any issues? Awesome. 3-0 on that as well. Any other business tonight? Sure.
I just wanted to, before Nick gets into what he wants to say, because he knows this stuff in and out, and I just wanted to recognize Nick for managing the request for information, this whole procurement process. It's one of the most thorough, well thought out experiences I've seen, and Nick did a really great job leading it. I'm very excited about this investment, if you can't tell, because one of the things we wanted to accomplish with our Rescue Plan Act funding was to inspire and instigate innovation in operations and efficiencies in operations. And these two add-ons to our baseline GIS system are going to help us organize and analyze information in ways we struggle to do so today. So I'm super excited, and I won't steal any more of your thunder, Nick.
I think it sounds like this is like a really far-reaching project into like every department. Are or like all department heads part of like the decision-making process here? Okay, sounds good. Um, just out of curiosity, like, is there something that you are thinking about now that you're like most excited to do with this? Like a specific, just for my curiosity? Any questions, other questions?
How easy is it going to be to train the department heads to get on board with this thing? And it's all going to be archived, so how long would will be archived? Indefinitely? Okay.
Any public comments, questions on this one?
Darrell wants to say something.
That's funny. Well, sounds good to me. I appreciate all the background, and I'm really excited about a lot of this stuff as well. Especially a lot of the GIS stuff is going to be, and it already has been, so helpful for us making more informed decisions. So thank you. Any other business? I forgot we were in other business for a second. Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn at 7:18. Thanks very much.